Brad Winderbaum from Marvel has officially confirmed that X-Men 97 Season 2 is set to drop in 2026. There were rumors floating around last year about the highly anticipated season premiering that year, and now Winderbaum has set the record straight. Season 2 of X-Men 97 is going to be in 26. We're working on it now, he told Collider. It's exciting. That world of the 90s is just… Honestly, I can't believe they let me make it. I grew up at Marvel, as you know, clocked a lot of time here, and I feel like I used a lot of currency to revive this thing that I loved watching after school. So the fact that we get to play in that universe with those actors is honestly why I went into this business in the first place. When asked if Marvel has more animated shows or even a feature film on the way, Brad Winderbaum kept things vague. It's all still in the early stages. As you know, we develop more than we actually produce, so I don't want to announce anything before it's ready. But hopefully, there's some exciting stuff on the horizon, he said. That being said, if X-Men 97 Season 2 scripts are still in progress, a 2026 release might be a bit optimistic, considering how long it takes to produce a full season of animated TV. Even though the recent Disney Plus series revived an animated show from 25 years ago, Marvel chose to keep the story set in the original 90s era. But with reports that Marvel Studios wants to keep X-Men 97 going for as long as possible, could the mutants eventually step into the 2000s? In a 2024 interview with Discussing Film, supervising director Jake Castorina was asked whether they plan to stick with the 90s style and if Season 2 might take inspiration from later comic book runs. He replied, "We touched on that, even in Season 1 with E is for Extinction, which was definitely not of the 90s run per se, but in the zeitgeist of the era that came a little later. Once so much time passes, that's pretty much late 90s. We're still dressing like that. That's how I validate it. When did the clothing style change? That's the time we're in. We play with a little time fudging, like in E is for Extinction. But to your point, there are 30 plus years since the show's been over where the comics have expanded. Speaking in comic book lore, past and present, X-Men is and always should be an allegory for prejudice, first and foremost. The minute you take that element away, you've automatically taken away the excellence. In the X-Men 97 Season 1 finale, the team managed to take down Bastion and stop Asteroid M from wiping out the planet. But in the process, they somehow got thrown through time, with some of them crossing paths with a younger En-Sabah-Nur. There are plenty of classic 90s apocalypse stories they could adapt, but since the original series already covered some of them, it wouldn't be surprising if Season 2 explored some of his 2000s-era storylines. While Jake Castorina didn't confirm any specific plot points, he did bring up a few iconic comic runs. He explained that the X-Men were always meant to be underdogs, unlike the Avengers, who were more widely accepted as heroes. The X-Men should always be the underdogs, he said. He pointed out that while the Avengers handled things on the fly, the X-Men relied on teamwork, training, and the danger room to stay prepared. Despite their internal conflicts, romantic drama, and occasional fights, they always came back together as a team. Regarding the future of X-Men 97, he didn't confirm any specific storylines, but acknowledged that while they had drawn from classic 90s comics, like those by Chris Claremont and Jim Lee, enough time had passed for them to start incorporating storylines from the early 2000s as well. This suggested that the show might take inspiration from newer material beyond just the classic animated series and its original influences. The X-Men have some of the most exciting, weird, and thought-provoking stories in comic book history. They've consistently set the bar for superhero team books and superhero storytelling in general. From legendary arcs like Days of Future Past and the Dark Phoenix saga, to modern hits like the Krakoa era, their history is filled with incredible stories. The first season of X-Men 97 was a massive hit, widely praised as a masterpiece, and fans have been eagerly waiting to see what's next for their favorite animated mutants. With Season 2 confirmed and teased to explore Apocalypse and the team scattered across time, it would make perfect sense to adapt a forgotten 90s miniseries, 1994's The Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix, a 4-part story that could fit right into the show's direction. Cable, the time-traveling son of Scott Summers and Jean Grey, well, technically her clone Madeline Pryor, is a huge part of X-Men history. In X-Men 97, baby Nathan Summers was kidnapped by Mr. Sinister and infected with the deadly techno-organic virus. To save him, his parents had no choice but to send him into the future with Bishop in hopes of finding a cure. While the X-Men had already met the adult Cable from the future, it was never made clear whether they actually realized he was their son all grown up. Season 2 of X-Men 97 has a great opportunity to explore that emotional and complex family history. A perfect storyline to adapt would be The Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix, a 4-part miniseries from 1994. In this story, Scott and Jean's minds are thrown thousands of years into the future, where they take on new identities, Slim and Red Dayspring, to secretly raise and train young Nathan. Without the rest of the X-Men to help, they spend years preparing him for his destiny as the hero Cable, all while keeping their true identities a secret to protect him. The storyline is one of the most heartfelt in X-Men history, balancing epic action with deep family themes. It explores love, sacrifice, and the hope for a better future, exactly the kind of story that would fit perfectly into X-Men 97 Season 2. While The Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix is a major story about Cable's early years and his struggle to survive in a harsh future, it also dives deep into Apocalypse as a villain. The 90s miniseries gave Apocalypse more depth than ever, portraying him as more than just a typical world-conquering villain. It explored what drives him, why he sees the world the way he does, and what truly makes him tick. This added so much more weight to his battles with the X-Men. A showdown between Cable and Apocalypse, where their fates are already intertwined, would be an exciting way to bring this to life. X-Men 97 could take these classic ideas and refine them for a modern audience without requiring fans to sift through decades of comic book history. One of the best things about an animated series like this is how it makes the X-Men's most complicated storylines more accessible. No need to read through dozens of issues, just sit back and watch. The show has also done a fantastic job of giving Scott Summers and Jean Grey the attention they deserve, something the live-action X-Men movies largely failed to do outside of their love triangle with Wolverine. X-Men 97 has corrected that by making Scott and Jean central characters, and adapting The Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix would be a great way to continue developing them. It could work as a compelling side story alongside the team's main adventure, further expanding the show's exploration of time travel and the X-Men's connection to the future. One of the best things about X-Men 97 is how much it embraces the comics, something many modern superhero adaptations shy away from. While it could have gone in its own direction, the show instead pulls from both classic 90s X-Men stories and later comics, proving it's more than just nostalgia bait. Season 1 nailed the balance of honoring the past while still feeling fresh, and Season 2 should keep that momentum going. Straying too far from what made it great would disappoint both longtime fans and newcomers. That doesn't mean it can't tweak things. Some stories, like The Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix, are pretty dense and could benefit from a more streamlined adaptation. But keeping the heart of the comics alive while making them more accessible is exactly what X-Men 97 does best. And continuing that approach would be a win for both the show and the comics it's based on. Well, that's it for today. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe because we'll be covering more updates on this soon and other exciting upcoming movies and series. We'll see you next time.